Ladies and gentlemen, Shelley Winter in for Mark Aram. This is my last day. He will be back tomorrow. He was off for Passover and spring break, and he'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. But on the phone with me right now is a good friend, a dear friend of mine. She is the United States Small Business Administration. She's the head of the Small Business Administration. Her name is Kelly Loeffler. Hey, Kelly, how are you?
Shelley, it's great to be on with you. I'm great. I'm thrilled to be back in Georgia for a minute.
Right. So you're here in town. What are you here? Why are you in town?
Well, I'm here for a lot of reasons. I'm talking to a lot of our great media. I'm visiting a small manufacturer, which most manufacturers in America meet the small business definition. And so I'm going to be learning more about how they produce their electrical control panels, which is a critical input for so many systems. And it's part of a Made in America manufacturing tour that I'm on, and promoting the fact that the SBA is giving 90% guarantees on the community bank lenders who are making manufacturing loans.
Now, what does that mean, a 90% guarantee? Can you explain what that means?
I absolutely can, because I think most people don't know what the Small Business Administration does. We are not a direct lender. What we do is provide community banks, about 5,000 banks across the country, a government-backed guarantee on the loans that they make to small businesses. Last year, we broke a record, $45 billion of government guarantees on our loans, and that meant that 85,000 small businesses in America got access to capital because banks had the confidence to make that loan because they had anywhere from a 75% to a 90% guarantee on that loan. Now, look, the bank takes the first loss, and we do charge a guarantee fee. So this comes at zero subsidy by taxpayers. We are not asking taxpayers to subsidize these loans. There is a fee for getting them.
Now, can new businesses, let's say I'm starting a business, can I be a part of this program, or do I have to have an existing manufacturing business? And the second part of that question, is it only for manufacturing small businesses? Can it be service-oriented small businesses?
Well, great question. It can be for all businesses. And in fact, 60% of our loans last year were made to businesses of between 1 and 6 employees. So the smallest businesses are getting the benefit. You know, you have to start somewhere.
Right.
We have a business that we made a loan to in South Georgia that is now up to 500 employees, but he started out by himself getting an SBA loan, and he expects to double by next year. So this is about building back in America our main streets that were just hollowed out, and we're on the side of free enterprise, not big government.
Absolutely. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Let me ask you this question. What percentage of, because I've heard during election time that small businesses make up the vast majority of employers in this country. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, look, small businesses make up 99% of all businesses in America. They create 2 out of every 3 new jobs, and they make up about 46% of our GDP. So as President Trump likes to say, Kelly, small business is big business. He knows that it makes our main streets work, our communities what they are. They bring not just economic opportunity for employees and for the tax base, but they create the culture and gathering places and production in our local societies. So it's so important, and that gets me out of bed every day because I grew up in a small business family in rural America, and I know what it meant to our community.
We're on the phone with U.S. Small Business Administration Administrator Kelly Loeffler, former Senator Kelly Loeffler, and a good friend of the Shelley Winter Show. We have April 15th is next week, tax day. What will people's refunds look like, and what will our tax burdens look like next week? Will they be lower because of the tax cuts?
Well, it's good news for tax filers this year. Finally, thanks to President Trump's working family tax cuts that is putting more money in Americans' pockets. And we're talking double-digit increases in returns. We see savings already with only half of taxes filed of $3,500 on average per family. That's an 11% increase over last year. And then for small businesses, that would have seen a 50% increase in their taxes had the working family tax cut not gone through. They're already saving $7,000 on their taxes. And we have to remember that every single Democrat voted against these working family tax cuts. That means that about 80% of seniors, about 50 million seniors, will not be paying taxes on Social Security. 20 million workers will now have the benefit of no tax on overtime. We've already seen huge gains from that, saving them about $12,000 a year. No tax on tips. 5 million Americans have already benefited by being able to shield $25,000 of their income. So these are real impacts for local communities, hardworking Americans, and all taxpayers.
Can you correct people like myself who, because this was a major part of Big Beautiful Bill, right? And one of the complaints that I had about the Big Beautiful Bill was the explosion of spending, or no cuts to spending, and explosion of the deficit. Can you tell people like myself why these tax cuts are not part of that explosion of the deficit or spending? Or am I wrong or am I right about that?
Well, Shelley, look, the estimates were put out by the CBO, which estimated that in 2017, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that President Trump passed in his first term that created a huge blue-collar economic boom would cost the country $4 trillion. It ended up being a benefit of $1 trillion. So they were wrong by orders of magnitudes in the trillions, and that's what we're going to see here. You cannot tax your way to growth. And that's what any small business owner will tell you. If you tax me, I cannot reinvest in my business, I can't hire, and I can't grow. And I was just on a factory floor up in Ohio yesterday with a copper manufacturer, and he said that. He said, I invest everything that I can back in my business. That's how I have 288 employees. And so look, the taxes are smaller taxes mean bigger revenues for the entire country. So that's just what we've seen. That's the empirical evidence. And the CBO has been wrong time after time in their estimates.
We're on the phone with U.S. Small Business Administration's Administrator Kelly Loeffler. You'll be speaking tonight. I will see you tonight at the Georgia GOP Spring Gala. For the first time in my media career, I had to buy a ticket. I'm not mad at that, but it's different for me. But I will see you at the roundtable before the event. What will you be talking about besides the stuff you've already mentioned? Is there anything else you'll be talking to us tonight about at the Spring Gala?
Well, Shelley, I'm so glad I'm going to see you there. I look forward to it and seeing so many friends from Georgia. But I want to share the winning track record that this administration has built up in 1 year. Quite simply, promises made, promises kept. What we're seeing is not just tax cuts, but rising affordability. We've got fair trade that means America first instead of America last. And I can't tell you how many factory floors I've walked where they say they have now 2 or 3 shifts working instead of one. I've seen it in South Georgia and North Georgia. I was with the president up at Coosa Steel. So we're going to talk about his policies, Made in America, America first. And then things like going after fraud. Look at the fraud that we have uncovered in just 1 year in this country. At the SBA alone, $200 billion in COVID-era fraud. That means it's taxpayer dollars that got ripped off by criminals that the Biden administration tried to sweep under the rug. We are going to make sure that there's accountability and that never happens again. So those are just a few of the great things that this administration, again, has gotten done in just 1 year. So I'm excited to encourage people to realize that this agenda is helping Americans from all walks of life. And remember, every single Democrat voted against every one of those things, whether it's reopening the TSA funding to get our workers paid, which they're still voting no on, all the way to open borders, which they vote yes on. We want open borders. So there's so many wins to talk about.
We will see you this evening. I will see you this evening, my sister, and I appreciate you coming on because you got one foot back on the train for me. I was increasingly getting upset around everything going on around this administration, but you brought me back at least to the business and the economics and the tax cuts and everything else like that. So I appreciate you very much. What is the name of the business that you'll be visiting this afternoon?
Well, Shelley, I will tell you that it's called, I have to look at it because I've
That's
been
fine.
to Premier Automation, and I have been in already 5 or 6 businesses this week walking the factory floors from Republic Wire, which was a great copper manufacturer, to a construction company yesterday, Town Construction in Ohio. So what's great is getting to know these business leaders who take risk every day to meet their employees, to shake their hands, and to thank them for delivering. And that's what this administration is doing every day, to deliver for the American people.
God bless you, my sister. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to seeing you this evening.
Likewise, Shelley. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon. Congratulations to Mike from White, Georgia. Mike, when you get to the station next week, make sure that you find me and let's take a selfie together. He won the tickets for Yacht Rock Review at Ameris Bank Amphitheater on April 25th, and he's also going to come to the exclusive acoustic performance here at WSB Live Lounge on April 17th, next Friday. Congratulations, Mike. Shelley Winter in for Mark Aaron. We will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to traffic with my good buddy and my little brother, another food scrounger, Alex Williams.
That's right, Shelley. Good to talk.